Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you feel like you're flying under the radar a little bit, heading into Tokyo?
I think so. I like to be a secret weapon. So, congratulations!
Bruh.
Right now, I'm kind of just cruising under the radar, but when it's time to hit, it's gonna be a bang when y'all see my name. Y'all have a blessed one. Thank you so much.
What inspired the outfit for today?
Me always standing out. No matter my performance, no matter what.
And type of stuff. Just building the base, staying fit, staying active. Wasn't really doing too much like speed work.
A company, people, the media may try to limit you, always stand in your truth. So I express that through what I wear.
Just days before the 2025 U.S. National Championships, track and field fans were blindsided by a story that no one expected, and it didn't involve a false start or a failed drug test. It was far more personal, far more public, and far more damaging. Reigning 100-meter world champion ShaCarriRichardson, the very face of American sprinting, was reportedly arrested in Seattle after an explosive airport incident. At first, the headlines were silent. Social media buzzed with whispers, her name trended without context, and fans were left to guess. Was it an injury? A withdrawal? But what unfolded next was jaw-dropping. A quiet police report surfaced confirming Sha'Carri had been taken into custody for an alleged domestic dispute. The real kicker? Her rumored boyfriend and fellow sprinter ChristianColeman was at the center of it all. With no warning, no statement, and no press release, the sport's biggest female star had vanished into a legal scandal on the eve of one of the most important events of the year. And once the footage was reviewed and the charges were confirmed, the story spiraled into something far more damaging than anyone could have predicted. ShaCarriRichardson's arrest didn't begin with flashing lights or screaming headlines. It started with confusion and silence. According to police records from the Port of Seattle, Richardson was arrested on the evening of July 27th, just one day before the U.S. Championships officially kicked off in Eugene. With no confirmation and no statements from her team, speculation exploded online. Some fans thought she missed a flight. Others assumed she had dropped out of competition due to injury or personal reasons. But the truth was far more dramatic. Authorities confirmed she was involved in a physical altercation at TSA Checkpoint 4 inside Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Witnesses reported a commotion. Officers responded swiftly. And without a word to the public, one of the most recognizable faces in American sports was booked and released quietly without fanfare. Her mugshot surfaced hours later, and suddenly, the rumors had a face. A star athlete being locked up just 24 hours before the most important meet of the year? That alone would have sparked headlines. But what no one realized at the time was that another major name in the sport was also involved. ChristianColeman, the former world 100-meter champion himself. And that detail would send the situation spiraling even further into controversy. Once the arrest report went public, there was no hiding the facts. The Port of Seattle Police Department outlined the timeline in chilling detail. On July 27th, around 5:54 p.m., officers were dispatched to TSA Checkpoint 4 in response to a disturbance involving two individuals. Those individuals turned out to be none other than ShaCarriRichardson and ChristianColeman. An officer on scene reported that Coleman appeared distressed but initially refused to cooperate. He claimed there had only been an argument, nothing physical. But Richardson's demeanor raised concern. Officers separated the two, began asking questions, and then reviewed security footage. What they found was described as undeniable. The report states that Richardson followed Coleman aggressively, closed the gap between them repeatedly, and shoved him with enough force to send him crashing into a nearby column. And that wasn't the end of it. According to the officer's detailed narrative, Coleman attempted to walk away multiple times, but Richardson continued to pursue him, bumping into him and getting into his personal space. The report notes a second aggressive shove, followed by her throwing a pair of headphones at him. That strike reportedly hit Coleman somewhere in the body, prompting officers to establish probable cause for an arrest. The situation, now fully documented, had shifted from speculation to cold hard fact, and the implications were serious. While Richardson was being taken into custody, ChristianColeman made one thing clear. He wasn't interested in pressing charges. Despite what the footage showed and despite officers confirming physical contact, Coleman refused to provide identification, declined to answer further questions, and made it obvious that he didn't want this incident to escalate any further. Some might call it loyalty, others might say fear, but either way, his silence created a wave of speculation. Why protect her? Why refuse to speak when the evidence was mounting? Was he trying to de-escalate, or was there something else at play? Officers noted that Coleman was likely en route to Eugene for the championships and had no interest in derailing his own career with media drama. Even so, law enforcement didn't need his cooperation. The security footage alone was damning. What's more, a domestic violence resource guide was handed to Coleman, suggesting that police viewed the incident through the lens of intimate partner violence. Still, no charges were filed by him, no interviews were granted, and to this day, Coleman hasn't said a word publicly. That silence speaks volumes, especially when you consider what happened next. The turning point in this story didn't come from a statement or a social media post. It came from cold, clinical footage captured by airport surveillance cameras. According to the officer's written report, the video showed Richardson tailing Coleman through the TSA area, repeatedly getting in his space as he attempted to leave. At one point, she shoved him so hard he slammed into a column. Then, after he continued trying to walk away, she did it again, only harder. Finally, in a moment of visible anger, she flung a pair of headphones at him, striking him on the body. This wasn't a heated argument caught by an eavesdropper. It was a full-on physical confrontation caught on federal surveillance equipment. The report is clear: she was aggressive, unrelenting, and visibly angry. Officers confirmed this version of events with multiple angles and decided that even without Coleman's cooperation, they had enough to make an arrest. And just like that, the face of American women's sprinting was in handcuffs, facing a fourth-degree assault charge. Fans who had only seen Richardson as a firebrand on the track now had to confront a much darker side of her public persona, one that couldn't be ignored. Back in Eugene, the U.S. National Championships got underway, but with an unmistakable shadow looming over the track. Richardson did show up. She ran the 100-meter heats and placed second, doing just enough to keep eyes on her without addressing the storm swirling around her. But then came the bombshell. She withdrew from the remainder of the competition, including the 200-meter event. That wasn't just strange, it was telling. Was it because of media pressure, emotional fatigue, legal consequences? No one could say for sure, but the silence was deafening. Cameras zoomed in, reporters asked questions. Still, Richardson gave no comment. She walked away from the track the same way she walked into TSA that day, fast, fierce, and unbothered. But the buzz around her wasn't about her sprint times anymore. It was about what really happened at the airport. And while the legal case was unfolding, so too was the public perception of a woman once hailed as America's comeback queen. To this day, neither ShaCarriRichardson nor ChristianColeman has issued a formal statement. No tweets, no Instagram lives, no press conferences, nothing. And that silence has only deepened the mystery and fueled the public's fascination. Some fans defend her, insisting the footage is being taken out of context. Others are calling for accountability, especially pointing out the double standard if the roles had been reversed. What if a man had pushed a woman into a column twice, then thrown an object at her in a crowded airport? Would silence still be acceptable? The debate is growing louder by the day. For now, the footage speaks louder than any statement, and the court of public opinion has already made up its mind. This wasn't just a case of bad behavior, it was a public unraveling of one of the most recognizable athletes in American sports. And as the world watches what comes next, one thing is certain: the finish line isn't always on the track.